Hi, my name is Derdine. Thank you so much for joining me for yoga for today. Today I wanted to just focus on a pose inspired by that one, the dog sleeping in the back. Yes, we are going to work on downward facing dog. Downward facing dog, I think is a fantastic pose because if you're not used to doing inverted poses, which is a pose where you're upside down, like a handstand or a headstand, things like that. If you're not used to doing that, this is a great way to get familiar with being upside down, except you're still on the ground, but you're halfway there, right? Sort of. Okay. Now, downward facing dog is really neat because it can help stretch out your shoulders in addition to your hamstrings, in addition to your calf muscles. So, with that said, um, a lot of pressure is being put onto your hands. So, it's really important to have like a pretty strong foundation and to have good strength in your hands. I say all that to say that if you struggle with severe wrist problems, carpal tunnel syndrome, I would stay away from this pose. Um, Definitely do it at your own discretion, but it's not worth it. There's other poses you can do to get the same benefit, without having to cause harm to yourself. So, downward facing dog, great pose, stretching out your shoulders, hammies, calf muscles, but a lot of pressure on the hands. So if you know you're going to have a lot of pressure on your hands and that's kind of a sensitive area, go ahead and warm up with some wrist exercises. And we'll go ahead and get that, um, we'll go ahead and do that before we actually get into the pose. So for now, go ahead and grab your mat, grab some water, grab a towel, and get some music if you need to, whatever you need to kind of get your mind right. And we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so some wrist stretches that I like to do are wrist circles. So you can do maybe about 5 to 10 of them in rotation and go the opposite way when you're done in one direction. Another one that I like to do is if you're coming down on the mat and you can actually just flip your hand so that the palm is flat on the mat and your fingers are pointing towards your thigh. You can do one arm at a time, one hand at a time, or both. It's up to you. And whatever you decide to do, you're just gonna slowly bring it on back, meaning your butt down to your heels, nice and slow. You should feel the stretch there in your wrist and hand section area. If there's any tension, just breathe through that discomfort. If there's pain, do not continue. Essentially, if you feel any pinching or anything that you might classify as pain. So you can do that a couple times. You can also bring it where your fingers are pointing towards the out part of the mat and maybe sway from left to right, up and down. And again, or even in circles, you want to do this for maybe up to 30 seconds. Nice and slow, just kind of work your way through it. And then once you feel like you've gotten a pretty good stretch, go ahead and shake it out. Ooh. Maybe even do some hand explosions, fast fingers. Maybe some little bit more wrist circles. Evidently, I needed that. But once you're ready, then you go ahead and get started for downward facing dog. So there's a lot of ways to get into this pose, but I'm going to start off in tabletop, meaning I'm on all fours and my knees are about a hip width apart and my hands are aligned with my shoulders, flat back. Okay. So what's really important here is that you are in jazz fingers and that you are not sinking into your armpit or your shoulders, but that you're pressing away from the mat, okay? So once you've gotten in your pose, go ahead and curl your toes so that your knees and hips can go up and out. Now, bring our attention to our hands and then we're going to walk over to our feet. Essentially, again, jazz hands, pressing your hands into the mat, and that's keeping you away from the mat. The eye of your elbow, what's it doing? Are they saying hi to each other? If they are, turn them over, okay? Head. Let your head dangle in between your arms. Flat back. Do not round your back. We want to flat back. Lengthen it as best as you can. Your knees. Legs straight or bent knees. Bent knees, especially beginner, totally okay. You're still doing downward facing dog. Your calf muscle, not your calf, I'm sorry, your heels. Touching the mat, a lot of people feel like you need to touch the mat. No, you don't. Your heels can totally be off the mat. Now you can work towards getting them pressed to the mat, stretching out your calf muscles, but that's not a necessity. So these are the fundamentals of this pose. Once you've got the fundamentals down, play with different variations. You can widen the pose. Bring your feet a little close together, maybe just lifting one leg up. Again, hands pressed into the mat, so you're moving away from the mat. Bring the feet down, alternating, other side. Ooh, so many things you can do here. Bent knee, opening up to the side. Different tutorial for another day. Checking the eye of your elbow, twist it back, twist it back if you need to. And breathing. Now, if this is too much for you, especially your hands, come down on your forearms. And this brings you into Dolphin's pose. And then when you're ready, bring your knees down and take a break. And there you have it. That is your downward facing dog. So, great pose to practice again to stretch out those different areas that we talked about. It's a great way for building up strength, engaging your core, slowly working up those core muscles, and yeah, trying out the different variations. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you didn't like. All feedback is good feedback as long as you ain't rude. That's it. It's helpful to me, actually. So with that said, thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good jazz, and I'll be back. All right. Bye.